have you ever stopped to consider that the most significant battle in the history of the global economy has already begun right under our noses without most of us even noticing it? For nearly a century we have lived under a single undisputed truth, which is that the heavy-duty trucking industry belongs to diesel. It was a rule written in stone that while electric motors might be fine for small city cars or golf carts, they could never handle the brutal reality of long-haul logistics. Diesel trucks were the undisputed kings of the road because they were seen as the only machines powerful and reliable enough to carry the weight of the world across vast continents. But a sudden and massive claim has just sent shockwaves through the entire multi-billion-dollar transport sector, and it centers around the Tesla Semi. This machine is claiming a range of 800 miles on a single charge, which sounds like just another technical specification until you realize what it actually implies for the future of humanity. If this number is real, then every single thing we know about logistics costs and the global balance of power is about to be rewritten. The most shocking part of this story isn't just the technology itself, but the fact that mass production has officially moved from a dream into a physical reality. This isn't just a simple upgrade to an existing vehicle type, but rather the potential beginning of the end for the diesel era as we know it. Tesla is bringing a level of innovation that holds a twist so unexpected that it will likely change how you view every product you buy from a store shelf. Before we dive deep into how this machine works, you should stay tuned, because the true backbone of our global economy isn't the flashy passenger cars we see in advertisements, but the massive silent flow of goods handled by trucks. If you have been paying attention to the electric vehicle world over the last decade, you probably thought the entire game was about sedans and SUVs. We spent years arguing about which car had the best battery or which one was the cheapest, and it seemed as if the future was being written only on city streets. However, amidst all that noise, a massive truth remained almost completely ignored. Our entire civilization, our food, our medicine, and our machinery are all physically moved by trucks. In fact, trucks are responsible for transporting approximately 70% of all goods worldwide, which means that if these machines stop for even a few days, our modern life would literally come to a complete standstill. This is exactly why the trucking sector is the most difficult area of transport to transform. While every other car company was fighting for a piece of the passenger car market, Tesla quietly turned its focus toward the hardest challenge imaginable, which is long-haul trucking. This is a sector where diesel has ruled without competition because trucks must travel thousands of kilometers through extreme weather and over difficult terrain without failing. For years, the common wisdom was that building an electric car was relatively easy, but building an electric heavy-duty truck was nearly impossible due to the sheer weight and energy requirements. Tesla saw the game differently and realized that to truly change the world, they had to go where the fuel was being consumed in the highest quantities. Large long-haul trucks are the primary drivers of global oil demand, and they are also one of the largest sources of carbon emissions on the planet. This means that if you change the truck, you don't just change transportation, you change the entire global energy landscape. For decades, the kingdom of diesel was considered invincible because it offered three things that electricity could not match, which are range, power, and rapid refueling. A diesel truck could fill its massive tanks in minutes and be back on the road for another 1,000 miles, and this speed is the lifeblood of logistics, where every minute of downtime translates directly into lost revenue. This is the exact wall that every other electric truck project crashed into over the last decade. Most existing electric trucks were limited to a range of 200 or 300 miles, which is barely enough for local deliveries and completely useless for crossing a country. This range limitation acted as a ceiling that no manufacturer could break through until Tesla stepped onto the stage with a claim that many experts initially called a flat-out lie. By promising an 800-mile range, Tesla wasn't just improving the electric truck, they were claiming to have solved the fundamental physics problem that had held the industry back for a century. The significance of this jump cannot be overstated because if a truck can cover 1,200 kilometers on one charge, it can finally do the job of a diesel engine without the massive environmental and financial cost of fossil fuels. However, this leads us to the biggest question currently haunting the boardrooms of every major logistics company in the world. Is this 800-mile range just a laboratory result achieved under perfect conditions, or can it actually survive the brutal reality of the open road? Real-world trucking is a nightmare of heavy loads, steep mountain grades, and unpredictable weather patterns where battery performance can drop significantly. If Tesla can prove that this performance holds up when the truck is fully loaded with 40 tons of cargo, then we are witnessing the single greatest technological breakthrough in transport history. This isn't just about moving away from oil, but about redesigning the entire concept of efficiency. Tesla didn't just put a bigger battery in a truck frame because that would make the vehicle too heavy to carry any actual freight. Instead, they reimagined the truck as a high-performance energy machine where every single curve of the body and every component of the motor is designed to fight against energy loss. Traditional diesel trucks are built like bricks, which creates massive wind resistance at high speeds, but the Tesla Semi is shaped like a bullet to slice through the air with minimal effort. This aerodynamic shift combined with specialized high-efficiency motors means that more of the energy stored in the battery goes toward moving the wheels rather than fighting the environment. They even included regenerative braking systems that capture energy during downhill sections and feed it back into the battery, essentially allowing the truck to refuel itself while it drives. When you combine these technical leaps with the fact that electric motors have significantly fewer moving parts than diesel engines, the economic argument becomes overwhelming. No more oil changes, no complex transmissions, and no exhaust systems to maintain. In the world of logistics, where profit margins are razor-thin, the promise of lower fuel costs and near-zero maintenance is a siren song that no fleet owner can ignore. We are currently standing at the exact moment where this technology ceases to be an experimental concept and becomes a mass-produced reality. Orders are already pouring in from massive global corporations who see the writing on the wall. They aren't buying these trucks because they are environmentally friendly, but because they are better business tools. The giants of the old world like Volvo and Daimler, who have dominated the highways for a century, are now finding themselves in a desperate race to catch up to a standard they didn't think was possible. The battle for the highway is no longer a theoretical debate about the future but a high-stakes war for the present. While the technical specifications of the Tesla Semi are impressive on paper, the real battle is being fought in the brutal arena of global manufacturing and corporate logistics. For years, critics and industry veterans from companies like Volvo, Daimler, and Peterbilt watched from the sidelines with a mixture of skepticism and quiet concern. These are companies that have spent over a century perfecting the internal combustion engine, and they understand better than anyone that the trucking industry doesn't care about flashy keynotes or sleek designs. They care about the bottom line and reliability. The entry of Tesla into this space wasn't just another product launch, it was an act of war against the status quo of heavy-duty transport. When other manufacturers finally began to release their own electric models, they aimed low, focusing on short-haul routes and urban deliveries because they believed that the battery technology simply wasn't ready for the long haul. Trucks like the Freightliner e-Cascadia or the Volvo VNR Electric were designed with ranges of 200 to 300 miles, which essentially kept them tethered to city limits and short regional hops. Tesla, however, made the decision to ignore the conventional wisdom and go straight for the jugular of the diesel industry by targeting the 500 to 800-mile range. This move forced every other player in the market to reevaluate their entire strategy, because if Tesla succeeds, it makes every other electric truck on the market look obsolete before they even leave the factory floor. But building a prototype that can travel 800 miles is a completely different challenge than mass-producing 50,000 units a year while maintaining quality and safety. We are now seeing the shift into high-volume production, which is where the true winners and losers of the electric revolution will be decided. Tesla has invested billions into a massive dedicated production facility in Nevada that is designed to do for trucks what the gigafactories did for passenger cars. This facility isn't just a factory, it is an ecosystem that integrates battery cell production directly with vehicle assembly to drive down costs to a level that diesel cannot compete with. The industry giants are currently in a state of quiet panic because they realize that they are no longer just competing against a truck, but against a completely new economic model of transportation. In the traditional world, a trucking company buys a vehicle and then spends hundreds of thousands of dollars over the next decade on fuel and complex engine maintenance. Tesla is flipping this model by offering a vehicle that might have a higher upfront cost but has dramatically lower operating expenses. Every mile driven by a Tesla Semi is estimated to be significantly cheaper than a diesel mile, and in an industry where companies operate thousands of trucks across millions of miles, those pennies add up to billions of dollars in potential profit. This is why we are seeing massive orders from companies like PepsiCo, who are already integrating these trucks into their real-world daily operations. They aren't doing this as a PR stunt, they are doing it because the data shows that the Tesla Semi can handle heavy loads over long distances while saving the company a fortune in energy costs. However, the biggest hurdle that everyone keeps pointing to is the issue of charging infrastructure. You cannot simply plug a 40-ton electric truck into a standard wall outlet and expect it to be ready for work the next morning. To solve this, Tesla is building what they call the megacharger network, which is a specialized high-power charging system capable of delivering over 1 megawatt of power. This infrastructure is the missing link that has kept electric trucking in the experimental phase for so long. By partnering with major travel centers like Pilot, Tesla is ensuring that their trucks have a place to refuel as quickly as a diesel truck would fill its tanks. Imagine a world where a driver pulls into a station, takes a 30-minute break for lunch, and returns to find their truck has regained 400 miles of range. This changes the entire math of long-distance logistics because it eliminates the downtime that has always been the Achilles heel of electric vehicles. While Tesla builds this network, the traditional manufacturers are left in a difficult position where they must either build their own rival networks or rely on third-party charging providers, which often lack the speed and reliability needed for heavy freight. This infrastructure war is where the real power balance is shifting. If Tesla controls the fueling stations of the future, they control the entire industry. But the disruption goes even deeper than just the trucks and the chargers. It is reaching into the very heart of the energy industry itself. Today, the trucking sector is one of the single largest consumers of global diesel, which provides a steady and massive stream of revenue for oil companies. As the transition to electric heavy-duty transport accelerates, we are going to see a fundamental shift in how energy is distributed and consumed. We are moving from a world of refineries and fuel tankers to a world of high-voltage power lines and massive battery storage systems. This shift is creating a new class of winners in the tech and energy sectors, while leaving the old guard of the fossil fuel industry scrambling to find a new purpose. The Tesla Semi is the tip of the spear in this transition, and its success or failure will dictate the pace of global decarbonization for decades to come. Beyond the environmental impact, there is a human element to this story that often gets overlooked, which is the experience of the drivers themselves. Traditional diesel trucks are loud, vibrating machines that create a massive amount of physical fatigue for the people who spend 10 hours a day behind the wheel. The Tesla Semi is a completely different experience with a centered seat for better visibility, a silent cabin, and a digital interface that feels more like a modern cockpit than an old-school truck cab. This improvement in driver comfort is not just a luxury, it is a key competitive advantage in an industry that is currently facing a massive shortage of qualified drivers. If a company can offer a safer, more comfortable, and more technologically advanced vehicle, they will have no trouble attracting the best talent. As we move closer to 2026, the noise around the Tesla Semi is only going to get louder as more of these machines hit the highways and the real-world data starts to drown out the skeptics. We are witnessing the birth of a new era where the smell of diesel fumes and the roar of heavy engines are replaced by the quiet hum of electric motors and the lightning-fast acceleration of a machine that was once thought to be impossible. The rivals are in trouble not just because Tesla has a better battery, but because Tesla has reimagined what a truck can be in a digital and electrified world. This is no longer a technology update, it is a total reimagining of the global supply chain. As we stand in 2026, the era of what if has officially ended and the era of it is happening has begun. For years, the skeptics argued that the Tesla Semi was nothing more than a marketing exercise designed to pump stock prices, but the ground reality on the highways of Nevada and California tells a much different story. We have now reached the mass production milestone that Elon Musk promised, where the dedicated semi-factory near Giga Nevada is finally pumping out units at scale. This isn't just about small pilot fleets anymore, it is about a projected capacity of 50,000 units per year, which would make Tesla one of the largest heavy-duty truck manufacturers on the planet almost overnight. But the real twist, the one that most people didn't see coming, is found in the actual performance data coming back from the first massive corporate users. Companies like DHL Supply Chain and PepsiCo have been running these trucks in the real world for enough time now to prove the impossible. In recent verified tests, a fully loaded Tesla Semi carrying 75,000 pounds was able to maintain an efficiency of 1.72 kilowatt-hours per mile. To put that in perspective, it means the truck successfully completed a nearly 400-mile route on a single charge while carrying a full load and still had energy to spare. This data is the final nail in the coffin for the argument that electric trucks are only for light loads or short distances. When a CFO looks at those numbers, they don't see a green vehicle, they see a machine that is fundamentally more efficient than any diesel engine ever built. The expansion of the megacharger network is the final piece of this global puzzle. Tesla has just updated its maps to show over 60 new megacharger locations across 15 states, specifically targeting the heaviest freight corridors like the I-10 and the I-5. These are not just chargers, they are the new gas stations of the 21st century, capable of delivering 1.2 megawatts of power to a single vehicle. This means a driver can recover 70% of their range in the time it takes to have a legally mandated rest break. The synergy between the machine and the infrastructure has created a closed loop that diesel simply cannot break. But the story doesn't end with just a better truck. The ultimate twist is that the Tesla Semi is designed as a bridge to a fully autonomous future. Every unit coming off the assembly line in 2026 is equipped with the latest sensor arrays and AI hardware, suggesting that we are moving toward a world where freight doesn't just move electrically but moves itself. This would represent the single largest shift in the history of human commerce since the invention of the steam engine. We are looking at a future where the cost of moving goods drops so significantly that the entire structure of global trade is transformed. The diesel era had a good run, and it built the modern world we live in today, but the reign of the internal combustion engine on the high seas of the highway is coming to a close. The revolution didn't start with the cars in our driveways, it started with the massive silent giants that move our world every single day. If you want to stay ahead of this curve and be the first to understand how these technologies are rewriting our future, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. The highway is changing, and the hum of the electric motor is the sound of the new world arriving.